Hey everyone, it's Mike with It's Pittsfield Tonight. It is Friday, May 1st, and I'm going to jump right into it. So it's May. Yay. It's getting closer to summer. Mornings are still frigid, and it looks like we're going to have some cold mornings still for at least the next week or so from what I'm seeing, 30s and low 40s. So I'm so ready for hot. I don't care. Give me 90 degrees, give me 100. I'll take it. I don't care. Winter started early last year, and it seems like it's been around forever. So, yeah. Anyway, it is May, so get out and celebrate and hope for good weather. I want to talk about this past Pittsfield School Committee meeting, and I want to mention e-bikes again because I mentioned, as I have been, talking about North Street in the last video I did, and talking about some of the issues we see on North Street, which is heavy jaywalking, and bicycles on the sidewalks, and a lot of them being e-bikes. Now, after I did that last video, which was Wednesday the 29th, the Pittsfield Police Department put out a post showing bike classifications for e-bikes, and that Massachusetts does not recognize Class 3 e-bikes as a bicycle. They put them in the same category as like a moped. I personally was not aware of that, and I bought my bike at Berkshire Bike and Board. So I did some research and saw that that's a fairly new thing that the state has done. If you're going to ride them on the road, it's not very clear. I don't think they have a system in place for that yet, but it's saying that you have to have a driver's license, you have to have a helmet, you have to have insurance, you have to have it registered. I didn't quite get that because it doesn't seem like they have this system in place yet to do that from all the information. And I have a Class 3 e-bike, which I mentioned. A Class 3 e-bike will do 28 miles per hour with pedal assist. And Class 1 and 2 e-bikes do a maximum speed of 20. Mine, I don't think would fall under what the whole registration thing and all that because mine stays on private property, on my own property. I don't use it to go out on the roads and all that. So anyway, that was something a few people messaged me about because a lot of people weren't aware of that. Now, here's the thing, regardless of all that. Now, I don't know if that means the PPD is hinting that they're going to start enforcing some of these rules and laws on the roads and on the sidewalk, because here's the thing with e-bikes. There's plenty of information out there, and a lot of younger people that use e-bikes, it's easily accessible information to them that there's ways to get in to that system because it's a computerized system that controls the bike, and remove the governor that regulates the speed on that electric motor, and you can get those things going really fast. Really fast. I was passed a month ago by two young people on Elm Street, and I'm not kidding. They had to be doing 35, 40 miles an hour on these e-bikes. I was like, wow, it's amazing what somebody determined can figure out. And that's a common thing. You see a lot of these going really fast, really fast. So in the last video I did, I talked about the dangers of these e-bikes, even if it's one that's a Class 1 or 2, and you're going 20 miles an hour down the sidewalk on North Street, and you hit somebody, you're going to do some serious damage or kill them. And bicycles on the sidewalk is a big problem. So I did send an email by the time this video comes out to Chief Mark Madalena of the Pittsfield Police Department to see if we can get an interview. As many of you know, I've always been a big supporter of the PPD. And that hasn't changed. But I want to ask him about a police presence, about community policing, a foot patrol or bicycle patrol that's their beat. Is North Street. I think that's essential to making our downtown appealing and safe and inclusive for everyone. It's being proactive rather than just having officers respond to bad things, right? Why not being proactive about it? Because I mentioned this in the last video. The chief did an interview with the mayor and talked about how North Street is safe and statistically and there's no problems. But there is an issue and public perception is not as good as it should be. So there are issues, and I want to talk to him about that. And the big ones are, and again, it wasn't the Pittsfield Police Department who installed bike lanes. So that had nothing to do with them. But if these bike lanes are going to take up this much real estate on North Street, and the majority of bicycles are traveling down sidewalks, which also is endangering pedestrians, the whole thing doesn't make sense. We need to be enforcing no bicycles on the sidewalks and no jaywalking. I mean, those need to be enforced. And the jaywalking is really bad. And anybody who drives up and down North Street gets it at any time. Somebody might just stumble right out in front of you. It happens to me all the time, and I've always got cameras going. I don't want to focus just on negative, so I don't always put that stuff out, but I save it all. And it needs to be addressed. A bigger police presence, community policing, beat cops would be just such a wonderful thing for the city. There are stats that show crime is reduced drastically, like 80 to 90% where you have a police presence. So you're being proactive and deterring bad things from happening in the first place and making it more inviting and appealing for all. So anyway, I'm going to talk to the chief about that if I can get an interview with him. And we'll talk about Crime Watch incentives and things like that, because a few people commented and sent me messages on that. So I want to talk about all that with him. And that's that. The last school committee meeting, if you did not see that, go watch it. That one took place Wednesday, the 29th of April, and it was intense. You can check that out at PCTV's website. It was a good one. And it was basically two meetings in one. It was a budget meeting with the school committee also, was the second part of that. Sierra Batory on the school committee pushed hard for why are we not releasing this PHS report from all the allegations of misconduct and all the things that was brought out into the public about incidents at Pittsfield High School over a year ago. And all of you, I'm sure, watching this know exactly what I'm talking about. So there were allegations of inappropriate conduct of teachers and students, allegations of drug dealing, and just a whole bunch of horrible stuff. Now, the allegations on drug dealing was the FBI was involved with that, and that's still ongoing. That's still in the courts being litigated and whatever's happening there. And I'm sure something will eventually, when that gets through the system, there will be information on that. The rest of the allegations of inappropriate conduct, that's where it gets tricky. So many of you know the Pittsfield School Committee at the time, our former committee, hired an independent law firm for quite a bit of money. I think it was $150,000 or $160,000, something like that. I don't know the exact number, but it was $150,000 or upward of that. And for this law firm to do an independent investigation and produce a report, which they did. The school committee members have access to read that report. Not all of them have. Some of them admitted that they've only read the summary. Sierra Batory on the school committee did read the report, and she said it was worse than she thought it was. And she made a motion to release that report by February 18th. Now, it does get a little tricky because I went and re-watched that, I don't know how many times, 30 or 40 times. So she says that the school committee we're going to take a vote for the school committee to release this report on February 18th of 2026. And then she ends it, though, with that the school committee would review the report to see if anything else needs to be redacted. Or it did get a little confusing with that, because I thought, well, why would you be reviewing it if you're voting to release it? If you're going to make alterations or any changes to it, wouldn't you have to re-vote on it? That's where I didn't understand. Now, committee member Batory is saying she was told by the chair, who was Mayor Marchetti, chair of the school committee, that she needed to add that ending piece to it, which was that they would the committee would review it. But if her motion just stopped at the first part of it, we're releasing the report by February 18th of 2026, because I was following it 100% till we get to that ending part, and it did get a little tricky. I agree with committee member Batory that that PHS report needs to be released. It is one of the biggest controversies ever in our school system. Serious allegations. And by not releasing that report, it makes it worse. It makes people paranoid, like, what are they hiding? What is going on here? It's making it far worse by not releasing it. So I think it needs to be released also. I don't see why they wouldn't. What did they do it for? Meaning, what did they hire a law firm to do this whole report that was taxpayer funded if they're not going to release it? I think it was to settle that whole situation, to calm things down and to let people know what happened. We're talking about children in the schools. So if nothing happened, then put the report out and it should say that. Or does it contradict that? Are there things there? I don't know. So like a lot of people, I would love to hear what that law firm found for their investigation. So put it out, put a redacted version if people's names have to be removed from it, and put the report out. There's that. So go back and watch that meeting. Really, it was unbelievable. It got very emotional, and I applaud Sierra Batory for standing up. That's not an easy thing to do. I don't necessarily agree with her all the time on things. There was one issue she talked about, the closing of Morningside School, and asked the mayor, since they voted to, the way I think she worded it is take away the building from Morningside School, and that could potentially become a police station, would he be reimbursing the school? I didn't understand that, because it's a municipal building. The city owns the building. The school department never owned the building. That's a city building, it belongs to the city. And I don't think the closing of it had anything to do with turning it into something else. In fact, the way I see it is, if they don't find a use for it, then what are you going to do? You've got this building in the middle of a community just sitting there falling apart. You can't have that. You can't do that. So you have to find a use for it. You can't do that to the neighbors and just have a big abandoned building there. And we are in desperate need of a new police station. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen, and I don't know if they're talking a possible substation or something like that, or if they're talking about moving the whole department over there. I have no idea. I will ask Chief Madalena that if I do get to talk to him. So that's another thing. If I want to see if he has any insight on that. But go back and watch that meeting. It was absolutely as emotional as you can get for a school committee meeting. And I will end it with this. So the school committee approved the fiscal 27 budget of $87.2 million. Now, we have about 4,600 students in the Pittsfield Public Schools. And we just approved another school budget of $87.2 million. I just, out of curiosity, wanted to see what the average cost per year for a 4-year in-state state college tuition would be. And it's between $11,600 a year and $11,900. Then I wanted to see, based off of this $87.2 million budget and a number of, so I just rounded it down to 87 with 4,600 students, because I think we could be a little more, like 4,660 or 4,680. I don't know what the exact number is, but it's 40, so I used 46. What was the cost per year per student? And it's almost $19,000 a year per student with this budget to go to the Pittsfield Public Schools. That's why I keep saying we're going to have to close more. We're only a few years away from that number of 4,600 dropping below 4,000. We're probably 3 or 4 years away from that. Maybe sooner. Who knows? Only time will tell. See what we lose. We lost over 200 this past year. So we'll see what next year brings. Will we be down to 43 or 44? But we're quickly approaching dropping out of the 4,000 range into the 3,000s for enrollment. And you can't just keep all these buildings open. You can't do it. Who's going to pay for all this? How high are people willing to pay in taxes to keep this running when we don't have the school enrollment? And that was fascinating to me, that a Pittsfield Public School student is soon approaching double the cost per year of what it would cost to go for in-state tuition for a 4-year state college. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy to me. So why is that? I have a lot of questions there that I want to try to get answered. So that'll be a different video, talking to different people and all that. So that's enough for now. I do have a fundraiser coming up to cover all the work I'll be doing. We're going into the nonprofit season, so I've already been contacted by many nonprofit groups looking for coverage of their events, which I'll gladly do. I need the generosity of all of you to help out. Like I said, with the number of followers we have just on Facebook, if everyone gave, $10, $20 a year, there'd be tons of money to do everything. But I just can't afford to do it all myself. So that is coming up. I have business promos coming up, a cool pizza one with some of our great local pizza places. That's coming up. Just a ton of stuff. It's going to be a busy year and a lot to talk about. Get involved. I'm going to do a separate video on that this weekend. All right, I'll update everyone in the next day or two. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Be part of the community. Get involved. And I'll catch you all in the next day or two.